Hello everybody, it's Whiskey11 and welcome back to the Gaming Lounge. And in this video I want to cover my super awesome trip to DriveTanks.com's amazing playground for adults. That's just the only way to literally describe this place. For those who don't know, Drive Tanks is one of a few places in the United States in which you can drive a multitude of tanks to include. They have two different M4 Sherman variants. They have a T-34. You can drive a Leopard 1. You can drive a Chieftain Mark 10 and crush a car. They are adding a M41 Walker Bulldog to the list of tanks that you'll be able to drive in the future. They have a bunch of light reconnaissance vehicles like Scorpion and Abbott self-propelled gun. They've just got a metric crap ton of vehicles for you to drive. But that's not what makes DriveTanks.com's Ox Ranch out in Uvalde, Texas so unique. What makes it unique is one of the few places in the United States in which you can not only drive an M4 Sherman or a T-34, but you can then turn around and shoot the main gun on a M4 Sherman or T-34 85 tank. And that's what really makes this trip so unique. So, to give you a little bit of a backstory on this, basically my family was like, we need to go on a family vacation. Where do we want to go? We originally were going to go to Boston in that area, and I was going to see the USS Massachusetts and maybe the USS Salem if I could get some cooperation from my family members. But what we ended up deciding is that wanted to go someplace a little bit warmer in the April time frame than the East Coast, which is, it's a hit or miss as to whether or not it's going to be warm or not. We opted instead to go to Texas on just kind of a whim because I had been gifted a $500 gift certificate. Well, it wasn't really a gift certificate. My parents were willing to front $500 for me to fly in a World War II bomber or other aircraft. And I opted instead to throw out this idea of going to DriveTanks.com's ranch and driving and shooting an M4 Sherman, which, holy crap, was it worth it. So we decided to go down there and just hang out in San Antonio and do a bunch of things and just be, in general, relax and not really worry about too much. But we're not going to focus on the rest of the trip so much as we're going to focus on DriveTanks.com. So as I said, this is a place where you can drive and shoot a number of different tanks. And we have on their webpage, this place is ridiculous. On top of all the things you can do involving military vehicles, they have artillery pieces there, they have anti-tank guns there, they just have flat-out machine guns there, you can fire freaking mortars there, a flamethrower there. There is literally nothing out there that you can't do. I will warn you, it comes with a price tag. And I'm not going to say that it was an inexpensive trip, but for me it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's not every day that you get to drive and then shoot the main gun on a tank, and for me that is worth a number far higher than what they actually charge to do it. And for that I'm eternally grateful. So there are a couple things that I do want to go over. One of them is going to be the actual driving of the M4 Sherman. So let me kick on over to that video and we will come right on back. Alright, so when it comes to driving the tank, sorry I didn't actually get any video of me actually driving the M4 Sherman. So the vehicle that we were supposed to drive was their M4A3. It's supposed to be a E2 Cobra King, or King Cobra, which is a jumbo assault tank, and it's actually not that. Maybe we can cover that in a different video. It's basically just an Easy 8 with a 75 on it instead of a 76 on it. But anyway, I digress. Driving the Sherman is surprisingly easy. It has two pedals, a gas pedal and a clutch pedal. It has two steering tillers, which are your brakes. And everything else about it is as simple as driving a manual transmission. About the hardest part about getting used to this thing was just how far back I had to pull back on the actual steering tillers to get a change in steering direction. And I've been told by people who are in far better know-how than I that that is abnormal. So anyway, they take you on this driving course in which you drive the tank from their little meet and greet barn. He backs it out of their barn where you first meet up with them, and then you drive it from there. And they do a fantastic job of explaining it to you. You're in the driver's hatch, the instructor's in the assistant driver's hatch, and he's giving you instructions the entire way, what gear you need to be in, etc. And you really only are ever in second and third gear, not going super fast, maybe 10, 15 miles an hour. At one point, you come down this large hill, down into the stream, and this was, for me, the coolest part of this entire trip. You literally drive this tank up this creek to the firing range. It's so cool. I mean, it's just a neat, fun thing to do. All these pictures that you're seeing, by the way, are taken by my sister-in-law. She actually took all of the pictures, so props to her for taking the pictures. Again, sorry about not getting any video. If you'd like to see video of this drive, Fly Daily has a fantastic video of him driving out there, which isn't where I found out about this. I found out about this from Demolition Ranch years ago. But anyway, you're driving through this creek bed for a little bit, and then you end up going up a hill as you head up to the firing range. You pass by a number of different little props that they have set up. You're obviously not doing anything. Just as a point of note, both the 1919 and the Ma Deuce on this are real. The other group that came up with us to the range, they were supposed to drive a Leopard 1 up there and then fire the T-34. They ended up riding the T-34 up there because the guy couldn't fit in the actual driver's hole. Neither one of them could fit in the Leopard 1's driver's hole, which is kind of funny. But anyway, they showed up in the T-34. They actually ended up firing the Ma Deuce on top at the target. They paid for that. I didn't, because they want way too much money, in my opinion, to shoot 50 cal. But that's just me. We're spoiled here where I'm at with it. Once you pull into the range, you basically pull it up and then stop, and then you get out and you switch positions, and then the instructor will park it in the actual firing position. You can see there they fired a bunch of other guns there too. They had way more fun than we did out there, and I had a crap ton of fun, by the way. So that's it for this initial portion. The next video that we're going to watch is we're actually going to watch me firing the thing. So we'll join back up here with me firing it. The one thing that I really, really enjoyed about this trip, though, was actually getting to fire the main gun on this, on the Sherman. And it also is one of my biggest disappointments, and the reason why I say that is because one of the things I would have loved to have done is been able to actually aim the actual gun on this. So they do all of the loading, which is for obvious safety reasons. They do all of the prepping of the gun to fire, but it would have been nice to be able to actually load and shoot it myself. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen. So that's probably one of my biggest criticisms, is you didn't really get the opportunity to actually see how the Sherman systems work to actually aim it. And it would have been kind of fun to see that. That said, there's a lot of other things that you get to do out there that are a lot of fun too. So when it comes to actually firing it, you get told basically what you're going to do is you're going to put the string in your hand, you're going to put it up against your chest, and you're basically going to rotate your chest, and then it's going to fire. And when it does, it is a loud freaking boom, and it is just freaking hilarious. So let's watch that video.
Everybody good?
So another thing that I always found interesting while we were out there is the other group, I actually got to see them actually shoot the round. And it's a little bit different when you're standing up front. It's a little hard to see. The concussion is ridiculous because the 76 that we were shooting actually has a muzzle brake on it that makes it very, very, very loud for you standing next to it and shooting it. But I actually got to video it so we can watch the other group, him do the actual pulling of the string and firing, see the round impact down range, whereas before my mother, she just forgot how to record things, I think. So anyway, here's that video. Go ahead and watch it.
Walk that way slow, all right? Come back just a little bit. Okay, walk slow, slow, slow. A little more, a little more, a little more, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. Right there. Whoa. Let me get out the way. Remember, good loud 3, 2, 1, fire and hold, SpongeBob, whatever you want to say. Let me get out the way.
Hey, buddy, here comes the loud noise.
Go for it, bud. 3, 2, 1, firing.
It's not even the biggest gun we're going to shoot. See the smoke?
So the next really cool thing that we got to do while we were out there is we got to see the T-34-85 drive around quite a bit. And what happened with that is actually quite funny. What happened is the previous group that had shot the tank, they shot it and everything worked fine, but what they didn't realize is that the recoil spring on it had broken. And so that set up the failure in our shoot group in that they were supposed to be able to load the round in, fire it, and it would have been fine. But when they went to load the round in, they couldn't get the breech all the way closed because the barrel was not all the way into battery. And the ejection system on the T-3485 is recoil operated, so if you don't get the barrel all the way forward, you can't load or eject a round. You can partially load it, and then the breech will get stuck. And, well, the video you're about to watch is them trying to fix this via some interesting methodology. But you do get to see the T-34 drive around, which in my opinion is really cool. I really enjoyed it. So anyway, here's the T-34 driving around. So at this point, they tried to examine the barrel assembly to see if it actually had, fallen forward far enough for them to get the breech closed again so they get the round back out. I'm still a little confused as to why the breeches on these don't fall freely when it's not fully in battery, but I don't know. Soviet engineering, World War II, it's a T-3485. It's old. It probably does have some function similar to that, but it probably requires a tool that they don't have easily available. But that said, it was still kind of neat to watch them kind of go through this process because they were really contemplating about getting it going faster and slamming on the brakes even harder. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself the entire time, like, the last place I want to be is the dude that's corralling this thing all the way up in front. Because if that breech slides up and the firing pin falls, he's going to have a real bad freaking day. What do I know? Anyway, it was really cool to see this thing drive around. Listen to those track pins as he starts to accelerate and drive off here. You can actually hear it, and the reason for that sound is that clack, 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 clack sound is because the Russians on the T-34, they put the track pins in from the inside of the tank, like from the whole side of the track, and there's nothing holding it on the outside of the track. And to fix the problem of the pins working out, what they did is they installed these ramps on the inside of the tank hole where the track runs that smacks the pins back in place so that they don't fall out. It's the most Russian and Soviet thing in the world, and that, it's brilliant in its simplicity. But anyway, watch the video, watch some absolutely terrible camera work. If you've seen my GIFs that I posted, this isn't new. By the way, I do not envy the dude that's downrange of that main gun, just saying. So one of the last things that we did for the day there is we went back to the main barn, and this is one of my second. This is actually my second disappointment with regards to this whole trip. You don't get to drive the tank back to the barn from the range, and it would have been nice had they added that in there. I think for the price of the package, honestly, I think that they could have given you that. The entire drive time is about 30 minutes, but it goes by in a blink of an eye because you're just having so much fun doing it. And even for my family members that were riding on the back of the Sherman or in the turret of the Sherman when I was driving, they had such a good time up there that they didn't have any real concept of what was going on. The whole idea of time just snaps by, and before you know it, you're done driving. It would have been nice to drive, the 15 minutes or so back, just to kind of add a little bit more value to the package. You know, between that and being able to actually aim the gun and then have them double check the aiming on it to make sure it's safe, I think those things would have really increased the value of this trip for me personally. But the last thing that we did is that my brother really, really, really wanted to fire a flamethrower. Who can blame him? They have a freaking flamethrower out there. Why the heck not? So this is my brother firing a flamethrower, and, well, the video kind of speaks for itself.
Hey, I thought you said you weren't going to say that.
There's no way to not.
Think that'd melt the snow, Jeb?
So once you're done driving and shooting your tank of choice while you're out there, they kind of leave you to your own devices once you're back to the barn there. There's a number of things that you can do, to include crawling inside and out of just about every tank that they have there. There was a couple of them that were kind of off limits just because they were down for maintenance or being worked on at the time, like the Mark 41 couldn't get in there. But like the T-34, perfect example. You know, feeling kind of cute, think I'm going to crush some fascists later, I don't know. There's a picture into the driving hatch of a T-34. Surprisingly, it was easy to get into there for a person of my stature. I'm 6'5", about 285 pounds. Not a small dude by any stretch of the imagination, but it was surprisingly easy to get there through the turret. Did not try and get out through the hatch. I watched the chieftain try and do it. I'm good. But needless to say, it was a very uncomfortable driving position. I wouldn't recommend it. If you're a British tank fan, I highly recommend looking away for about the next 30 seconds or so, because this is going to be painful. Yeah, that's a Chieftain Mark 10. Very, very neglected. In need of some paint. And at the time, not currently working, but that's what they use to crush the other vehicles, the vehicles that you can pay to crush out there, the cars. In the next shot, we'll see a Leopard 1, a 5. This is one of 5, I think they said they had out there. They're looking to sell some. They're also looking to acquire the parts to actually make it fireable. Needless to say, the Germans have no concept of space. Slight bit of irony there. I could not fit in this thing to save my life. My shoulders were pinned in the commander's hatch, and I could rotate it. And there's a picture of my brother being super happy holding the first time he's ever held basically something that wasn't a shotgun or a bolt-action rifle or anything like that. This is him folding a real M4 carbine with a real M203 grenade launcher on it. Anyway, that was my trip to the drivetanks.com adult amusement park ranch. Oh my goodness, what the heck do you want to call it? I honestly don't know what to make of it. The whole trip was a ridiculous amount of fun, and if you have the money to go out there and do it, I highly recommend it. San Antonio is a pretty fun town too. There's a lot of great things to do there, and it's about 2 hours west of San Antonio. One thing to remember is they don't have cell phone service out there. Yep, they could literally kill you out there, and your family members would have no way of calling for help. It's that remote of an area. But it is a ridiculous amount of fun. If you guys haven't already checked out their webpage, I highly recommend you check it out. If you're in the States, man, if you're not in the States, it would be worth traveling out there to go check them out. Anyway, I had a fantastic amount of fun. I hope you guys had fun checking out my video about my trip out there. If you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe. And thanks for watching.